What's going on, guys? It's Aiden with Upper James Toyota, and today I've got a pretty neat video. To the left of me, I've got a 2023 TRD Pro Tacoma versus the new generation 2024 TRD Pro Tacoma. Today we're gonna take a closer peek to see what's similar, what's different, and to see which one you guys should buy. Whether you guys are looking for your next vehicle or just an existing client of ours, don't forget to mention that you've seen our videos online for a special YouTube-only incentive. All right, guys, let's get the obvious out of the way and let's talk powertrain on the prior generation Tacoma. Now, I have done a video on one of these beforehand, but it is interesting to throw this against the brand new generation Tacoma because powertrains are very different and you're getting a lot between the two different models. Now, if you're in this current generation Tacoma, you'd be powered by a 3.5 V6. It's gonna be making about 278 horsepower and 265 pound-feet of torque through a 6-speed automatic gearbox. Now, if you've ever had the privilege to drive one of these Tacomas, I will tell you firsthand, they are underpowered and the transmission is not gonna be the smoothest. So I'm happy they have changed that onto the new generation Tacoma, which I will touch upon very shortly. If I'm gonna be taking a look on the front end of this one in front of me today, I like the fact that it does say Toyota in big letters here. Now, the only thing that I don't like about this, which I'm happy they do change this onto the new generation, is that on the Tundras, the brand new Tundras, when they had launched those a few years back, I love the fact on a TRD Pro, you got that light bar underneath. It was one of those things, a lot of customers want to put that on a Tacoma, and oddly enough, you can only get that on a TRD Pro. There's no other Tacoma you can even option that for, but I think it's pretty cool and very unique to obviously buy for your next TRD Pro. The other big thing I will say, even this being a 2023 and a generation that I don't really have a whole lot of, things I would be going for on this truck versus the new generation, I will say that I like the fact that these turn signals are sequential. Now, I like that on this generation, but I even like that even more on the new generation because I think it's one of those things on this truck currently that it's nice, but I feel like other than that option, there's not a whole lot of other things on this truck that definitely make it stand out on today's market or a reason why I would have bought this vehicle back in 2023 if I was in the market for a pickup truck. You guys can let me know down below if that was something that maybe persuaded you or that you like onto the new generation, because I definitely think it's going to be, something that, the everyday consumer maybe doesn't know the truck has, but I'm gonna say it's one of my favorites for sure on this truck. Now, if I'm taking a closer peek onto the 2024, this is the truck I'll be saying a lot more on because I think they've done an awesome job to redesign it. This bad boy is powered by a 2.4 4-cylinder mixed with a hybrid motor. It's going to be making 326 horsepower with 465 pound-feet of torque. That's 200 foot-pounds more than the prior generation, and this is going to be going through an 8-speed auto. So 2 extra gears on this truck, but it's definitely going to make the world of a difference when driving it because it's going to be a lot smoother and it's going to shift a few more times, which I think is going to obviously make your ride quality a little bit better behind the wheel of this truck. Now, if you take a peek at these headlights, similar style to the 2023, they are also sequential, and I like the fact that they're all LED versus the prior generation because I think LED lights, especially now in 2025, is something that consumers expect and that most vehicles should have. Now, I love the fact, and I touched upon this on the 2023, I love the fact how they implemented that TRD Pro style front grille design from the Tundra onto this Tacoma. They've also gone a little bit further because they've added these rigid fog lamps on the bottom, which are going to be LED and horizontal. So it kind of gives the front end a little bit more of a beefier look and is something that I'm going to be a massive fan on. You guys can let me know down below in the comments. Okay guys, let's quit talking about the powertrains and let's start talking about the aesthetics of these two trucks. Now, when this 2023 was first released, I thought Toyota did a pretty good job at styling this smaller sized pickup truck with also giving a little bit of a beefy and an off-road look to it. However, with the new generations now being here, the new TRD Pro is going to be my favorite out of the two for one standalone reason. If you've seen my previous videos, you're gonna know I'm a big fan of the gloss black plastic, which you see a lot of on this truck versus the matte plastic on the prior generation truck. You can firstly see this on your wheel wells here, you're going to have your black mirror caps and obviously your black roof, which I do like as an option on this truck. I think Toyota offers this on some of our RAV4s, having a black roof, and I think styling wise, Toyota has done a pretty good job and pretty neat to include that on our first ever pickup truck that we offer that for. Now, the other big thing is going to be tires. Now, both of these come with Fox shocks. They're actually going to be adjustable on this one in 3 different ways, depending on how crazy off-road you are feeling for your drive. However, the big thing about these 2 tires, I like the look of this tire a lot better. You get 18 inches versus 16s on the prior generation with these really cool TRD Pro style rims. I think Toyota has done a pretty cool job. Now, following that same line towards the sides of these 2 trucks, number 1 is going to be, I just like the stance of this truck a little bit better versus this one. I think the entire look of the new TRD Pro versus the old one, they've done a pretty cool job to make this a little bit wider and more of that beefy looking truck versus this one, which I also thought had the same look back for 2023. But the thing I like the most on this Tacoma are actually going to be these black door handles. I think having these on the truck definitely separate the solid white color, and I like that that gloss black theme has kind of stayed true throughout the entire truck and not just on one portion of this vehicle. Now, taking a closer peek onto the back end of this TRD Pro Tacoma, it's looking like a pretty typical Tacoma you would see back for a 2023 model year. There's nothing really that stands out that's different on the back end of this vehicle. There's only a few little things. One of those going to be that you do have TRD Pro written on the sides of the vehicle on the bed of the truck, which is a little bit different versus the new generation Tacoma, which has quite a few more features for the everyday consumer. Number 1, I love the fact, like they had it on the Tundra, that they show TRD Pro on the actual lift gate of this vehicle. And I think for, the everyday person, I like that because, every single person doesn't know what this truck is actually capable of doing. Number 2 is going to be this little quick release. So you can hit this button and your tailgate is actually going to be powered, which is a pretty nice feature on a truck, especially getting into, this price range for a vehicle. So I think adding that little bit onto this truck is pretty cool. The only interesting thing that I find Toyota has done, which maybe I'm not going to be in favor of, is simply going to be the fact that this is only offered as a short bed. You no longer, and you actually have never been able to get that Tacoma in a long bed either for a TRD Pro, but I think that's interesting. I think that some consumers want the look of this vehicle without the off-road capabilities, but still having that extra foot in the bed of the truck. So really interesting that Toyota didn't implement that for the new generations. Maybe that'll be for something to come. All right, guys, now taking a step into the 2023 TRD Pro Tacoma. Now, being on the inside, if I was looking directly out, I would think nothing different versus any other Tacoma for this year's generation lineup. There's really nothing that screams TRD Pro to me. Sure, I see the little black hood scoop on the actual front hood. Other than that, I know that's offered on a Sport and the old off-road premiums, but other than that, there's nothing on the inside here that would really make me want to get this truck. And it's kind of interesting that it's really only the outside engine, shocks, and tires that really make this truck, a standalone off-road vehicle. Other than that, on the inside, this just looks like the everyday typical Tacoma that has leather. The only thing that you can tell this is actually a TRD Pro, it tells you in your headrest on the seats. But oddly enough, that's the only thing on the vehicle that actually says TRD Pro. Sure, you get the floor mats with it, but most people aren't really looking down when they're inside of the vehicle. They're typically gonna obviously look at the seats where they're gonna sit and then obviously outside. So really interesting, they haven't added a whole lot onto the inside. And then this versus the new generation, sure, there are a few things that have carried over, like your heated seats, a JBL sound system, which sounds better in the new generation, obviously, more power, but you still have that old screen, the old, Tacoma, dial temperatures for your inside climate control, your Sirius XM is built in, but this would still have wired Apple CarPlay, wired Android Auto. Sure, it comes with Sirius XM, but there's not a whole lot of crazy convenience features that I would be jumping for this generation Tacoma. So if you have one, let me know what actually made you get into this one. And then obviously now with the new generation being out, are you at all persuaded to get that new powertrain, the new transmission, more power, the new look? I'm very interested to see what you guys have to say. All right, guys, now jumping into the new generation Tacoma, and my goodness, this is a big change versus the prior generation. I'm gonna be starting with the seats. Now, if you take a peek at the back of these seats, these are isodynamic performance seats. They have actual shock absorbers in the seats, which you can manually adjust to obviously change how much of the road or the off-road you are feeling, which I think is just the most crazy thing to add for one of these vehicles. And it's pretty cool. This is actually coming from a manufacturer like Toyota. When I originally first saw this vehicle debuted at the auto show and I saw this vehicle in person, I thought there's no way this vehicle is coming with these kind of seats. And it's pretty true. They definitely do. They look crazy, but oddly enough, it's definitely gonna use up a little bit more of the space for your second row. Now, Toyota claims this is 3% larger for your rear end passengers versus the last generation. I actually think it feels a bit smaller with the seats, but other than that, I'm gonna be taking these seats all day long. I think they look great, they feel great. I think having that customization is a pretty cool thing that Toyota has added. Now, on the inside of this versus the prior generation, you just have way more convenience features. I like the fact that it has Toyota up here. It's in all black with the red underneath it, red stitching throughout, your massive 14-inch touch display with wireless Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, built-in Sirius XM. I like this little handle that Toyota has added too, because if you are taking this off-road, you can have one hand up here, one hand on your handle, or for your passengers as well, which I think is pretty cool. I also like the fact how it says TRD Pro quite a lot on the inside of this vehicle. You have TRD Pro into this interesting little carbon cutout for your seats for both your front passengers. You've got TRD Pro on the side of your door. You've got a TRD steering wheel, a TRD push button start, a shifter, your floor mats. So I think they've done a pretty cool job to really exaggerate the fact that you're in a very unique truck that Toyota offers. Actually being on the inside of this as well, I will say black is definitely going to be my preferred color option on this. I think the red is just a lot. It's a lot happening on the inside, and I don't need that really bright color. I think it's very unique that Toyota offers that, as an interior option for this vehicle. However, just like the Camrys on the XSE and even on the TRD Pro version of a Tundra, I think that red leather is just a little bit brighter than I would, want for my everyday driving. The one thing I will be saying on the inside of this truck that I love is going to be this feature. You simply pop this up, and here's your little portable JBL sound system. So this has a few more speakers on the inside of this new generation than the prior generation's JBL sound system. Sounds even better than the last gen, but I also just love this little, convenience feature that they have offered to give you a little JBL pop-up portable speaker that is actually waterproof up to 3 feet. If you ever feel crazy to throw that in a pool or into a lake, that is actually kind of cool that Toyota has offered that. I will just say though, on the inside of this, you feel like you're in way more of a premium truck than the prior generation. Everything feels, higher quality. It's better leather. You have cooled seats. You got the heated steering wheel. You've got the nice sunroof, the nice sound system, the massive screen. So I think Toyota has killed it on this truck. I'm interested to see what you guys, have to say, because obviously there's, new vehicles on the market that this would compete with. So I'm interested to see, if you guys would change manufacturers to go to, say GM, or you would go, to a Ranger, because that's gonna be one of the closest things to this truck. I'm always interested to see what you guys have to say. So please leave a comment down below and let me know your thoughts. All right, guys, to wrap things up on these two trucks, let's talk price, because that's going to be the big deciding factor. Now, back in 2023, if you wanted one of these TRD Pro Tacomas, you'd be paying $61,070 plus freight and PDI, dealer administration, licensing, tax, and all of those fun little government fees included on a new vehicle. However, on the brand new generation Tacoma, your price has increased quite a bit. We are sitting at an MSRP of $78,674, adding those same fees I just mentioned on the prior gen. So that's a pretty big increase. You're talking about, $17,000 in change plus your tax, depending where you guys are watching this from. So I'm interested to see what you guys have to say. Would you want the new generation? Are you taking a used, prior generation Tacoma, or are you going for a different manufacturer entirely? Let me know down below in the comments. I'm interested to see what you guys have to say. Again, my name's Aiden with Upper James Toyota. Thank you so much for watching. If you did like this video, please do not forget to hit like and subscribe so you don't miss any more of our future Toyota related content. And I'll check you guys out in the next video.